Dethroners, welcome back to the Dethroning Your Inner Critic podcast. I am really excited for this conversation today. I have with me Sue Firth, and she is a business psychologist, and she works with senior executives and entrepreneurs, and she is an expert in stress and change. And that, of course, goes right alongside of executives and entrepreneurs. So, Sue, I am so excited for this conversation. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Joanna. It's a real pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yes. So let's just dive in. I'm curious to just hear about what it is that you do when you're
Mhm.
working with the clients that you work with.
Sure. Well, most of the time I get invited into an organization, and essentially there are anything between 5 and about 18 people sat in a room, and there's an opportunity for me to be able to showcase what I do and the approach I have. And that's because as a professional speaker, they're often half-day events, and there's just an opportunity to kind of teach. And I like saying, I teach, don't preach. And that's mostly because when they're listening, they're invested in the idea that they want a tool. Somewhere in the process, we need to be able to say to people, okay, why is there an issue over a certain amount of stress in these roles? And I think principally it's because they're very attracted to the job that they do, but what they probably don't appreciate, and I'm the first person to say it, is it comes with the territory, but that doesn't mean that you need to put up with everything. And part of the problem with that means that they find that their lives lose some quality to it, or they don't put in the boundaries that protect that, or they need to maybe pace themselves a little differently.
Mm.
So I've got a set of tools, if you like, that I take people through. And sometimes, to be frank, there's somebody in the audience and they may ask me the question there and then, or they just get a light bulb and they come up to me afterwards, or they will approach me after the workshop by email and say, actually, you know what, I don't think I'm getting it quite right. And that's where my coaching, I think, really began. I took an opportune moment to be able to say, okay, I'm going to personalize some of this stuff, and that should help.
Yeah. So you said something really interesting, and that is that the clients that you work with, what you notice is that they are actually drawn
Mm,
to that level of stress.
mm, yeah.
But then they organize, probably, I'm assuming, Sue, not just their business life, but their whole life around maintaining that level of stress. And I'd love to talk about that because I think I talk a lot about what are winning strategies. Okay. And
Mm,
when I talk about winning strategies, and I'm curious if you can relate to this. What I mean is you have this way of organizing your life, and it's gotten you a tremendous amount of success. It's gotten
mm,
you literally to the top of that proverbial mountain.
mm.
And there you are standing there, and there's a cost to that, right? There's a cost
Yeah.
to
Mm,
using some of those winning strategies ongoingly. It actually starts to bankrupt people in many ways.
mm,
Do you notice
mm.
that in the work
Yes, I
that you
do.
do? Yeah.
But I think probably the starting point is recognizing that many individuals who push for huge success and who become either entrepreneurs, owner managers, or very senior in a business, or obviously senior executives, that when I say that they are a type, I am as well. So this is not a derogatory comment. What is
Absolutely.
involved in that is the recognition that they want something better. They want huge success, or they want great personal gain. And in order to be able to achieve that, which is quite right, they recognize that they have to push hard, and persistence over time will bring results. That is a fantastic principle. So there are a lot of success strategies that are involved in that.
Yes.
However, what comes with the territory is that when you are positively attracted to a role, which is very senior and gets more and more senior, one of the reasons why it also gets more stressful is the level of accountability that comes with it.
Mm,
So they start to develop skills, and they've probably got these skills to some degree genetically, which I know we were going to talk about, but
yes.
also they begin to acquire them. Their brains get sharper. And what I mean by that is they start to problem solve so frequently that they are really great at making decisions. They hone that skill to the point where other people aren't like them and don't want to be like them
Yes.
because they're good at it.
Yes.
But what comes with it is also a type of intelligence which they probably don't even realize is involved underneath. Now, we all have loads of intelligence. We've all got to use our intelligence every single day. And we do so because we understand most types have a label that we've come across at school, whether it was academic intelligence or emotional intelligence since. But this one isn't any of those.
Right.
It is a type of intelligence where you can take a look at any situation, from standing in an airport to your barber's to a supermarket, and you stand there and you think, why are they doing it like that? Your
Hmm.
whole brain is rapidly working out there's a better way to do this.
Yes.
Why are they doing it like that? If they just did this instead, it would be so much better. And what most people who are listening probably don't realize is that is called systems intelligence, and it comes with the territory of what they're positively attracted to. It was probably even there genetically before they began to drive their life the way they do.
Interesting. So systems intelligence is really, are you saying that it's really being able to look at the big picture in a way that
Mhm.
other people cannot?
Can't do. They
Mm,
don't have the same energy to it. They don't have the same ability, and they
right.
can't carve through that level of data.
Mm,
So what happens is that this individual is rapidly able to assess and then assimilate a situation and then work out how it could be done better. Now, at the level that they're at when they're first managers and they're first driving themselves through a business, if that's how they began, this gets noticed and then they get promoted and then they get even better and then it gets noticed and then they get promoted. And this is how it begins.
yeah.
But if you are an owner and you start your own business, it's often because you have spotted there's a gap in the market, or there is a business you could do even better. And
Yes.
it's precisely that difference that you make that brings your business into a niche area that other people can't better, because you've already done it better. That's
Yeah.
the whole point of the systems intelligence. That gives you a head start and is a fascinating difference about the way people think.
Hmm. Okay. So I'm trying to think about this for myself. Okay. And I'm curious. I want your opinion about this. So I certainly created the mind method because I thought that there was a better way to for people to really access um, a different level of thinking about themselves and understanding life and understanding their potential. Okay. Now,
Mm,
my experience with that is that I had to do my own inner work, because when you see something that it really could be done a different way, right? In whatever, with your clients, whatever you work with, the gap between where you are and where you see that system, what that system could become, is huge. And
mm,
there, in my experience, again, this is how I work with people, is how do you start to take action inside of that gap and not lose yourself, not have so much tension and attachment to it's got to be this way, I've got to change this, I've got to fix this organization has to look the way that I see it needs to look. How do you deal with that?
yep.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not certain that you necessarily do, Joanna. I think that's probably one of the reasons why people end up coming to talk to you, because what happens is that they have a very strong need to grip, and that's called control. And
Yes.
the biggest desire they've got is that if they control it, then they control the outcome. That means that they will be
Absolutely.
able to improve it. Now, if
Yeah.
it's a fairly small thing that they attack, can I use that word loosely, meaning to improve it,
Yes.
then it makes a measurable difference in a short period of time. That gives them the very strong feedback loop that says, I can do this. I can do this even further. I can do this with something bigger.
Yes.
And so it's where you begin to move from just adapting or improving a role to taking on a whole team, to taking on a service offering, to taking on something which you think you can fix because it's a product, or just finding an area in the market where you can make the biggest difference.
Yes.
That person's brain is able to work out very rapidly how to break it down into bite-sized chunks that
Yep.
actually makes that gap, as you described it, quite
Yeah.
manageable.
Right.
So the difference for somebody with this kind of thinking is that nothing is overwhelming, nothing seems daunting, and nothing is actually impossible. It's just the way they think.
Yes. But we got to bring the issue of control in there. Because I
Mm,
think what you're saying is that this person can take it, you know, step by step by step by step, right? And they do feel that nothing is impossible. But
mm,
how do you work with people when their grip is so tight and they're trying to control so many things? Because in my experience, I think the tighter we grip and the more that we try to control, um,
mm.
the more that we actually put a lid on
Potential.
enjoying, yeah,
Yeah, you are
not
right.
just
Yeah, we
potential,
do.
but really
Yeah,
enjoying the whole journey
yeah.
of going from where you are to where you want to be.
Yeah, and that's great. And I think that that is about a level of self-awareness which needs to also come on the journey. If
Yes.
someone
Yeah,
doesn't have that level of self-awareness, the problem is they grip too tight, their team can't actually excel underneath them.
that's right.
Then they start to get feedback that says, you know what, I can never even try because you've always got the answers, or what is the point, or you think you have the knowledge before I even give you any ideas,
Yes.
whatever the feedback is.
Right.
Usually that individual starts to pick up that their style or approach is actually gripping too hard.
Yes.
When they get to that tipping point, they really do need to learn to step back.
Yes.
Now, if you're just an individual and you don't have a team and you have a crazy, amazing idea and you get successful, you probably won't get that loop that says, hey, there was a better way even for you to have done this because you are actually now paying the price,
Yeah.
as opposed to your team is the feedback, or even the clients are able to say, we didn't get this on time, or whatever is the touch point.
Yeah.
Now, the value really, Joanna, is what you're saying, is the fact that if they also bring along the desire to do the inner work
Yes.
with that journey,
Yes.
they pay much less of a price for that success. That's the principle we're speaking about today.
Absolutely. Because to your point, Sue, if you don't have a team that's reflecting that back to you,
Mm,
you may have a husband or a wife or a girlfriend
mm,
or a boyfriend or a family member or a child or, some part of your life that's going
mm.
to mirror back to you that, um, this issue of control is
Is
really
too much.
festering you. Yes.
Or we miss you. We're not saying enough of you.
Right.
You're working to the point where we don't get any time with you. Or dad, you were meant to make it to the dance recital and you missed it. Or mum, it's lovely that you're so great and so successful, but I miss you. You're traveling all the time. Whatever that feedback, that touch point is, the chances are you do get told. You will get told this from somewhere.
Yes.
Now, there's a difference between when you are younger and family don't get you because you're so much more driven than they are. You're so much more successful. And heck, it's really great that you are this super capable person. And that is a distinguishing factor that I think identifies you. And that's great. And to some degree, if you're okay with that, that's fine. But
Yes.
once you have brought a family into that fold,
Mhm.
you have a higher purpose then. You have a
Yes.
bigger territory, a bigger impact, and your behavior is felt in more than one way with more than one person.
Yes. Yeah. Because as I was saying earlier, what works in one arena of our life
Mm.
is not going to work in every arena. And
Yeah.
I have yet to meet a human being that doesn't have some part of their life kind of drop a brick wall on
Mm.
their head, right?
Mm.
So,
Mm.
so, you know, when you come across somebody, let's say they're let's say they're not self-aware. Let's say they, they don't understand this uh, grip on control. What, where do you go with them when that happens?
Yeah, I think that's a very fair question, but I will be truthful with you that the majority of the time, if they're sitting in the audience, they will take the tools away in order to adopt them for themselves. And they will say to themselves, okay, these would be really useful. They'll make a difference to my life, and they'll try them for a bit.
Gotcha.
When they don't work, because those feedback loops are still telling them, actually, do you know what? This isn't enough for us. We're not seeing you enough, or we're not getting enough of you. Eventually, if they've got the desire, and they should
Yeah.
have the desire to
Yes.
be that loving partner, husband, wife, whatever it is, they realize they're paying too high a price for the success.
Yes.
And it is often felt in a couple of ways. If it's in its worst case, an individual's health begins to suffer.
Hmm.
In the best case scenario, your child actually says, I miss you.
Yeah.
Because at least that's because children can be really unconditional about how they just feed back and just tell you this stuff. So, no one holds back when you're a child in comparison with your team who might do.
Yes.
You have to be willing to listen. You have to be willing to realize that you are not giving enough and that you're giving it in a very different form. Just because you are giving it in terms of productivity doesn't mean it's the right thing. Now, what happens instead with people I tend to see is that they come to me because they get a light bulb. They do get that self-awareness piece, but they don't know where to begin
Mm.
because almost everything is done in this same intense way. The system's intelligence doesn't switch off. It's a type of intelligence. So what they don't appreciate is work-life balance is not quite as so easy for
Yeah.
somebody with this.
Yeah.
And what they have to start to do instead is understand if you come home in the evening and you're not switching off, it's because you're not doing the type of things that means you become so focused you can't think.
Right.
That's exactly the type of thing that they want to be doing so that they are changing pace rather than taking it with them.
Yeah.
And also, you develop family contracts. So you try and teach them, okay, what I want you to do is start every year. You speak to each one of your children and your other half, and you say, right, this we need to do together. We're going to go somewhere together for a holiday. I'm going to do something with each of you that's super special so that I spend time with each of you. That is a family contract. And the youngest of the kids draw it, stick it up on the wall, and that's what they keep to.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So, can we dive into some of the tools that you teach
Mm,
executives and
mm.
entrepreneurs? Yeah.
Sure. So, I mean, some of it starts with really what we've already shared, with the appreciation that, hey, it's great that you feel that you're really good at this. I want that for you. But in order to thrive rather than just survive, performance has to be sustainable over time. So that's the first equation I really start teaching them. The
Mhm.
second thing, paradoxically, is that most execs don't actually know that they very rarely get stuck mentally the same, meaning spiral down, because for the most part, they just go on the attack to nearly everything they do. So if they only use one tool in their kit bag, it will always be, okay, I don't like this, therefore I'll do something about it. So
Mm.
although when I teach it, the remedy for stress is always action, they actually have to be taking the right kind of actions.
Okay.
And the first thing that you teach is that there are boundaries. You
Mm.
protect, you protect, you protect. So the boundary is always where you start the day, when you end the day, making sure that you get lunch, making sure that you breathe it out with blocks of time. And I teach the way an athlete performs 90 minutes on, 15 minutes off, 90 on, 15 off.
Wow, that is really interesting. 90 minutes on and 15 minutes off. And in
Off.
the 15
Absolutely.
minutes off, what are they, what are you
Yeah.
teaching them to do?
Such a good question, Joanna, because everybody always asks that. So they always say to me, oh, okay, so what do you want me to do? And I
Mm.
look at them as if to say, it's not about me. It's about
Mm.
you finding two, three, four, or even five things that you can rotate that are complete and totally vacuous, almost nothing. So, I sit, I mean, this sounds silly, but I sit there and do a crossword, or I will sit there and focus on the kind of games which are just on my phone, which just move darts out of the way and pictures and stupid stuff. And I just spend 5 or 10 minutes doing what is, in a manner of speaking, nothing. In other words, there's no thinking involved in this. This is the key. No thinking.
Mm.
I can also go for a walk. Obviously, I've already done my exercise. So let's talk about how I spend my day in order to teach people.
Yes.
Pace is performance, is about the actions you take, the choices you make, and the energy that you have as a result.
Hmm.
So I wake somewhere between 5:30 and 6 a.m. I do not check my emails at any point until 7.
Hmm. Yeah.
In that gap of time, I wind my brain gently through the equivalent of a car that does first gear to second gear to third gear, if you see what I'm saying. So
Right.
it's little rituals that wake my body up, even though I am completely awake. I teach it. No, we're not performing till I'm ready. And that's when I then go and exercise between 7 and 8, have a shower. I'm kind of online and ready for people from 8:30, 9. There's nothing wrong with you bringing that forward, but follow the same principle, because that's the boundary. They don't get you before a certain time. They don't get you beyond a certain time. This is what I'm talking about.
Yes, yes, yes.
So to pace yourself, you then do 90 minutes of intense work on something, a project which is vital. So clearly we come back to some time management principles of prioritizing what's on your to-do list. But that 15 minutes off is then literally space. It's just breathing space. You could, in theory, and some people do, go and get a cup of tea or coffee. But if you do that, you'll easily be drinking 6 to 8 in a day. So I would gently say to you, you don't always do that.
Right, right.
But certainly, just to cut a story short, it's about finding what works with you, which are just little rituals or sustainable habits that just give you breathing space so that you're pacing rather than the way my hand is cycling up and down. And
Yes.
that's much more sensible for the brain. So it's not on all the time. That's
Yeah,
what you're training it to do.
that's great. That's great. And now the question is, how do you talk to people about turning off? Because many
Yeah.
people that I work with say, well, I can't. There's too many things that I have to manage, and when if I tell them to shut everything down by 6 o'clock at night, I can't do that. What would you say to
No.
that person?
I would agree with you genuinely. Depending on the stage of your life, I mean, for example, if you're a mom and you've got a couple of young kids, it's almost impossible. But what you're doing is changing pace. You're moving from one type of demand to another.
Mhm.
So I think we still have to allow for multiple demands, expect something different from you at each end of the day.
Yes.
There's no way that you can truly decompress, which means that I have a couple of other tools which I teach. One, press the reset button every 6 weeks. It's essential. You do absolutely nothing, including with your kids. They do very little. You barely take them anywhere. You stay at home, you have fun, you make it easy. It's a back garden barbecue, it's whatever, but no yeses to loads of parties and no dropping them off at 60,000 different places
Okay.
every 6 weeks to
And is that
teach your
like for every
kids.
6 weeks for a whole day, or what?
Oh, good point. Apologies. A good point.
Okay, yeah.
So it's a weekend, really. It's
A
press the
weekend.
reset button for a
Okay.
weekend. The
Okay.
beauty being try to absolutely minimize the consecutive and multiple demands.
Yes.
And it's good to teach children this as well, because they could really do with learning to understand saying yes to everything teaches them this ultra fast pace about everything all the time. This
Yes.
actually isn't even all that healthy.
No.
So I press the reset button. The good news being I stick all these dates in the diary ahead of my year, but you don't have to know where you're going to go. You can, if you wish, go away for the weekend, but just make it an easy trip.
Yes.
Don't have, again, loads of demands.
Yes.
I think we've gone from the 2 week holiday once a year thing. I don't think it works so well for people of this level. But back to your point, try to manage expectations. You're not looking to decompress. You're not looking to unwind. You are
Yes.
looking to come down from a level 10 to a level 6.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
if it takes an hour to shift each pace of that, then
Yeah.
you need a minimum of 3 different activities that bring you from 10 to 9 to 8 to 7. And if
Mhm.
you can build in a fourth, that gives you 4 hours, then you would need to start doing those from 6 p.m. until 10 p.m. so that you can increase your chances of being able to sleep because you brought it down a level.
Yes. I think there's something that needs to be said here because many people have an identity that's been built for their entire lives on
Mm,
needing that next level, needing that version of success, needing things to go a particular way or be a particular way. And so I find when I'm working with, I think we work with a lot of the same kinds of people.
mm,
And you know, helping people to really understand what is underneath this
mm,
intense drive, this intense need for control, this intense grip, this inability to find that balance.
mm.
What do you come across in the people that you work with in terms of their um, I call it their attachment to
Mm.
needing their work life to look and
Yeah.
be a particular way? Yeah.
I think that makes absolute sense, Joanna, and thank you. The chances are you actually come across them earlier in the journey and probably are able to optimize being able to stop them or prevent them from getting so attached to that identity that it becomes completely synonymous with their success.
Yes.
My difficulty is they often don't come to me until they're very near burning out,
Yeah.
which is the red flag that they get
Yep.
because they're
Yep.
either sat in the audience or, more to the point, they've got a direct report or someone that they know or a partner or just somebody, if I can colloquially refer to it as, is in trouble. Now, instead, you might find then that they get a light bulb, and that particular individual, because they're receptive, is at least willing to get told that that's what they're doing. And I think
Yes.
that is the first step. It's the recognition and awareness piece which comes with that first step.
That's right. That's right. I mean, that's what I always say. It is really bringing awareness to what has previously been a blind spot. And
Mm,
I think for all of us, we can't really see our blind spots until we get that proverbial brick
yeah.
wall.
Wake up.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I think you're
Otherwise, we'll
right.
just kind of keep, going business as usual, using those same winning strategies, doing the same thing over and over again, and expecting different results. As everybody knows, that's
Yeah.
the definition of insanity, right? Yeah.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
is a good point, and that's a really essential thing to say. The issue really is then at the point where they are receptive and they're listening.
Yes.
I think the other thing that probably you and I both get across is, you know what, patience is something that often doesn't seem to come in the territory with this crowd.
Yes.
They have a tremendous amount of determination, focus, persistence, and perseverance, but they don't necessarily have patience.
Yes.
And because they're expecting it now, and of course, that's not their fault. I mean, our culture is a fix which is available now, and
Yes.
everybody is invested in if they buy something, you can get it tomorrow.
That's
And so, in general, it's quite difficult, especially for young people, not to lose heart when it takes longer for them to be successful. That too trains them to drive even harder
yes.
at something.
Yes.
So, the way that we have learned this is not just through systems intelligence. It's not through choice. It's also through the cultural messaging that we pick up.
Exactly.
And that's right from when we are young and
That's right.
schooling, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think that we are hitting um, an all-time high of people that are feeling burnt out. I think people are feeling burnt out younger and younger. I think
Mm,
that, the level of anxiety amongst people in their teens and 20s is through the roof.
mm,
And yeah, I think uh, I hope that more and more people wake up to um, the illusion that
mm,
that next level, that success. We should, of course, we want to be reaching for that next level, but not to
mm.
have that next level define how we think about ourselves, how we think about our value
Yeah,
and our worth.
yeah.
That's
and not to have that next level at any cost. And I think this is interesting because I have found that I profile certain leadership groups when I come in, but this time not to talk about stress, I talk about change. And in that context, I'm using the locus of control questionnaire. And I find this particular questionnaire very interesting because what it shows is the percentage of people who are internals versus externals. And anecdotally, there's a group that fits the middle. And if I can explain for a second, internals are precisely the type of people we're talking about not 5 minutes ago, who are highly driven, who believe that pretty much everything that they want in life is achievable because it's down to them to be in control of their lives. Their perception is that it's not what happens, it's what I do about it that matters.
Hmm.
This is potentially a good thing. It can make them a good leader. But as we've said, it comes with the territory of driving life hard.
Yes.
The external is not right, wrong, good, or bad, but they have a completely different lens on life. They perceive the fact that external factors influence the way they think and can, therefore, by definition, have more control,
Yes.
which means that they're at risk of waiting for something to happen. Or if you are an internal, you're more likely to be the leader of the externals because they will look to you.
Yes.
Now, anecdotally, there's a group in the middle who are bridges. They can step up to being internal in certain contexts and can relate better to externals so that they can translate your messaging into something that's perhaps a little bit more acceptable. What we need is, or we would love you too, is a softer message than do this now.
Hmm.
So, this bridge is characterized by a group of people who have a much more inclusive leadership style. And I am absolutely spotting amongst the groups that I profile now that we are getting more and more bridges, especially in the Gen X and Gen Z generations. So we are likely to see a very marked shift in leadership style and in people coming into leadership roles
Wow.
over the next 5 to 10 years. That will make a very big difference.
That's fascinating. Wow. That's well, time will tell. That's really interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Sue, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. This was really fascinating conversation. And where can my listeners find more about you and your work?
Thank you. Well, I have a standard sort of profile on LinkedIn, so you can always look for me, Sue Firth. But also the website's www.suefirth.co.uk. If you happen to pick that up, suefirthltd.com, that's just fine. You'll find us, it points towards it. The beauty of the kind of thing I do is there's obviously quite a lot of tools. There's quite a lot of what we do in terms of the newsletter. But the advantage is you can always just reach out, ask me a simple question. I'll always try and see if I can get back to you.
Great. Thank you so much for being here today, Sue.
You're really welcome, Joanna. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.